As we all know, this anime recounts the tale of a corpse god who, following his murder, reincarnates as a boy named Polka Shinoyama. He hopes to lead a peaceful life this time around, but his new life takes an unwelcome turn as he finds himself in trouble due to numerous threats. We're welcomed to the season by a cosplay YouTuber with melons as huge as actual melons. Proppen, the YouTuber, makes her way to Shinjuku at 3 a.m. in the morning to teach crows to talk. A weird fellow wearing some sort of virtual reality glasses is seen streaming her show and laughs at this insane YouTuber. She finally finds the crows, and just as she's about to start her bizarre English class, she notices several very long hands stretching from a nearby building. Obviously, this causes a ruckus because she's streaming live, and by the time day breaks, the place is littered with reporters, civilians, and police detectives. The detectives mention that they couldn't seal the building because of the badass owner, Clarissa, who didn't give permission. Clarissa is seen talking to two hitmen, or rather, one hitman and a woman. She surpasses them when she tells them their names because they hid their identity. Well, Takumi Kuruya, the same fellow we saw with the VR glasses, is seen questioning Polka about what happened that morning. Polka confesses to being the one controlling all those hands. Iwa and Arasa, two of the detectives outside the building, make plans to get into the building. Polka tells Takumi that Solitaire was the guy who came to have his fortune read. He mentioned that Solitaire had completely different face, but his soul was the same color, and he had the same ghost haunting him. Takumi begins to ponder why Solitaire set his sights on this particular building. He mentions that if he asked about that symbol, he must have been after them all along. Takumi also works for Clarissa, so he says he will let Clarissa know. Takumi actually seems quite smart despite his looks because he also mentions that the writing on the wall resembles the fire-breathing bug's work, which made Polka cast such a flashy spell. There's a part of what was written that says, "Bastard children of Sabaramond." Takumi asks Polka what that means, and Polka then tells him about Arius Sabaramond, the head court sorcerer of the Beatty Empire where Polka and his teacher lived more than 100 years ago. Polka then flashes back to when he first met his teacher with her good-looking melons. The boy received the shock of his life when she told him he had no talent, and that was the first time he met Sabaramond. Okay, on a more serious note, that name is a mouthful. Polka also mentioned that Sabaramond was a good guy. Both Takumi and Polka wonder what the fire-breathing bug has to do with Sabaramond, and the worst part is that if what the fire-breathing bug wrote is true, it means the bastard children of Sabaramond are his allies. That's when we meet another hitman, Momoya, who took out a bunch of soldiers with ease. After sending them all to hell, he receives a call from another mercenary, Ne, who tells him there's another job for him in Shinjuku. Another mercenary, Xiaoyu, speaks to her lordship about how she doesn't trust Polka, as she called him the fake Polka. Her lordship reminds her of her duty to protect Miss Sayo and the fake Polka. She apologizes and lets it rest for now. On the street, Arase thinks he saw a familiar face as he and Iwa move along, but he quickly shrugs it off, saying it must be in his head. Suddenly, a girl bursts into the room Polka was in. She tries to make him force a smile, and then a journalist takes a picture. The journalist introduces herself as Kochu, gives them her card, and tells them they're going to be in the next news. Takumi immediately gets a bad feeling from her when he sees her card and figures out she works for a tabloid named Weekly Dry, and it just so happens that Kochu is Weekly Dry's best reporter. Takumi tries to put up a front, telling her that they don't trust her. She surprises him when she tells him that she could drop this story and instead pick the story of people complaining about drones flying around. She literally humbles Glasses Boy. Kochu shows us her badass reporter skills, disclosing Takumi's past as a former informant and specialist for the Sanzu Sons gang. He is a tech genius who, when he was much younger, developed a software company. But because of that, many people started aiming for the downfall of his family, and ultimately they drove his family to suicide, with only him surviving. Kochu mentions that Takumi's life would make a good article, but she's not the one he's aiming at. Polka and the gang finally agree for Kochu to do an article on them, but Kochu insists on bringing an unsuspecting customer for them to use for the interview the next day. Takumi tells her not to interview any of the people waiting in line, and she agrees. This reporter is all sorts of nuts. She asks them about the writing on the wall, and they freeze. Takumi quickly inputs that the writing had been there even before they moved into the building. She obviously doesn't believe them, but doesn't push it. Nezu, a mummy-looking mercenary, is seen talking to his boss, Takeru, in an office. Takeru asks him to take a leave from work because Solitaire and Takeru's grandfather's men will be searching for him. To be honest, I think this anime should have been named The Mercenaries, because what the flip is up with all these killers? Takeru then asks another mercenary, Taipei, to coordinate with the Lei main force to pursue Solitaire. Okay? Not even playing around, I need to see this Solitaire for myself. He then asks another mercenary, Bao, to provide informational support. At this point, even I had difficulty keeping up with these people. Everyone's planning, the journalist is planning, the Shinoyama Shinoyamas are planning, even I am planning. We then see Momoya standing over a decapitated body, a bartender. We see a young man exhausted from work. His co-worker, Nishida, didn't come today, and he had to do all the work. His female boss walks up to him and tells him she'll give a bonus for all the good work. She also mixes a drink for him, and guys, guess who's the boss? Clarissa and her melons. Then Clarissa heads to a dark room filled with people who look dangerous, and she tells them to search Nishida's house. Another hitman called Higuro, along with Momoya, both embark on a mission as intermediaries in Shibuya. Momoya mentions he can't believe that Solitaire, a personality that everyone seems to be after, has been sharing legit info. They then put a dead body in a bag and head out. This dead body is none other than decapitated Nishida. Arase and Iwa, these two police officers, are still on the lookout for Solitaire. They wonder why he visited the building in the first place and question if Solitaire found out that Polka Shinoyama knows about that symbol. That's when one of the police investigators notices a picture of Higuro and Momoya taken by one of the security cameras. Arase recognizes Higuro instantly as part of an organization he took on before. Arase then tells Iwa of how he took down the Sanzu Sons, but he let Higuro go and pegged him as their leader. Meanwhile, Higuro and Momoya, while taking the dead body away, were blocked by a group of men. God bless their souls. They wanted to rob both of them with knives. Higuro simply asked them if they were connected to anyone important, confused, and said they were not, and Higuro killed them without batting an eye. Momoya asked him why he asked them in the first place, and Higuro told him the last time he killed someone connected to someone important, it was hell for him. Morale lesson: get connected today. They carried the dead body, and Higuro and Momoya head to a secret passage which hasn't been used for 5 years. Kochu literally shatters the heads of Polka and the gang when she brings in A, one of Clarissa's bartenders, who was just a broke idiot looking for more cash. Polka and the girl with jugs for 3 people combined play dumb and have to keep up their disguise so he doesn't find out who they know he is. While reading his fortune, mentions his co-worker that got missing. This same co-worker, Nishida, is the same person who Momoya gave took off his head. Polka asks him if the co-worker is close to him, and he tells him yes in a weird way. Meanwhile, the mercenaries Clarissa sent to check on Nishida have returned and give the update saying that Nishida was actually in the building. Security cameras saw him leaving in a hurry wearing his work uniform. They all and Clarissa begin to wonder and ponder if he was kidnapped to get information about Polka, but Clarissa says that Nishida doesn't know anything of value. Clarissa is worried about the timing of this event. It seems extremely suspicious. Back to Polka and his fortune telling. Unrelated, but I might need Polka to look at some football bets I made. Need to bag some bucks to continue this channel. Polka tells A that his friend might have been caught up in something disastrous, and it's at that very moment that we are able to see Nishida, well, more like the headless spirit of Nishida, behind A. Now, that's creepy. The spirit of Nishida beckons to Polka to tell A that somebody killed him. Just as things begin to get heated, one of Clarissa's workers came in and whispered something to Clarissa's ears. Shortly afterward, another 2 of her workers came in to inform Clarissa about something, but she cut them short by telling them what they already wanted to tell her, which was that the police came by and they questioned if Nishida worked there. The workers are surprised, asking Clarissa if she's psychic. Iwa and Arase stand in front of the building, prepping to enter, and just then a group of men from the police HQ tell them to stand aside. Iwa refuses initially, telling them that if they're on the Solitaire case, he's one of the lead investigators. They burst his bubbles when they tell him it's got nothing to do with Solitaire. They tell Iwa that they got information that there was a nasty mugging the night before, and the perp is laying low in this building, so they're here to search the building. They burst into the building like cops from Bad Boys, immediately stopping the fortune-telling session and asking Polka who runs this establishment. They then tell them why they're here and that they're looking for a mugger. When they show his picture, it was none other than Nishida. Now things get interesting. The cops from HQ ask them all to vacate the premises. That's when Polka gets a premonition to search the whole building, especially the basement, since something feels very wrong. He immediately searches the basement, and lo and behold, Nishida's corpse was lying in the basement. Polka realizes that if the police find a dead body in the basement of this building, everyone will be far from peace, especially him. Polka uses his powers to get the body away from the basement, and when the police show up, they don't find anything. Polka saves the day, but like all insane animes, bad things are just beginning. Iwa and Arase ponder whether the information was fake. Iwa tells Arase that the timing is too convenient and that it feels like the same thing that happened 5 years ago when Hosorogi vanished. He tells Arase that he got an important text that day from Hosorogi telling him to come to the basement. The text read, "I found important evidence here. He recalls that he rushed and found nothing but bloodstains on the wall, which later turned out to be Hosorogi's blood. Meanwhile, Momoya and Higuro begin a headcount of all the important people involved in this, themselves, Polka, Iwa, and Arase, the Shinoyama's heir, the Lace, Takumi. Not gonna lie, this has gotten intense. Momoya mentions he thought this job would be boring, but damn, it has taken quite a turn. Who else can't wait to see what happens next? Fellow weebs. If you enjoyed this anime recap, then you need to watch this next video right here, or even this playlist. But be ready for the ultimate weeb bing session if you do. See you in the next recap.